Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, saluting Earth Day on April 22nd with an ongoing commitment to help offset carbon emissions with sustainable harvesting of Missouri forests. Details at choosewood.com.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. Millions of people yesterday were treated to a show in the sky. The moon blocked the sun in a total solar eclipse whose path swept across southeast Missouri and southern Illinois. We want to hear from you. Give us a call and tell us where you were and what it was like. The number is 314-382-TALK. That's 314-382-8255. STLPR had a team of reporters in the field covering yesterday's eclipse, and in a moment, we'll hear from two of them. But before we get to that, let's hear what it was like during the moment of totality from interim digital editor Brian Munoz. He experienced it at Saluki Stadium in Carbondale, Illinois.
Nina Seidler-Wagner stands on the roof of the press box next to her mother. She made the trek all the way from Colgate, Wisconsin.
Amazing. No words. If somebody hasn't experienced it, they don't know what they're missing out on. Oh, so gorgeous.
This is Kate Grumke at the Bollinger Mill State Historic Site. It's about 20 miles west of Cape Girardeau, and the eclipse has just started. Here in southeast Missouri, scientists from Washington University have set up a tailgating tent with computers attached to telescopes and cameras. But they're not just here to study the eclipse. They're mostly here to answer questions, like this one from 10-year-old Maxwell LaGrasso.
Why can't you look at the solar eclipse without glasses?
Maxwell is a self-described science geek and aspiring future astronaut. He and his grandparents made the trip from Waukon, Iowa.
How does the moon orbit, the dark side of the moon specifically, orbit right over the sun?
Okay, so there's no dark side of the moon, actually.
About 1,500 people are spread out on picnic blankets and lawn chairs in a field. As the moon covers the sun, the crowd cheers. Maxwell is watching with his grandparents.
I'm like, oh my God! Like when I couldn't see it in my glasses, I was like, oh my God, what happened? I take off my glasses and I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool.
I'm Sarah Fenton in Chester, Illinois. This small town's known mostly for being the birthplace of E.C. Seeger, who created the Popeye cartoon.
I am what I am, and that's all what I am.
There's even a mini Popeye museum and shop here. It's the perfect place for Ryan Maxwell, a Popeye superfan from Indiana, to watch the eclipse.
I've got my Popeye-branded Eclipse glasses.
By lunch, there's a steady stream of cars heading into town. Hundreds of people gather at a hilly park on the south side. St. Louis College students Devin Kriegler and Jalen Bogard sit watching the sky dim.
It looks like if you took a low-exposure photo or a video of everyone.
It's also getting chillier and chillier by the second. Starting to feel the wind and everything, so it's also really cool.
And then finally...
Where is it? It's not even...
What? Oh my God. Glasses off, maybe?
Glasses off?
Yes.
Nice. Yes, take it off.
Look around. Take it off.
Oh my God. Wait, hold on.
STLPR's Jeremy Goodwin had a unique view of yesterday's total solar eclipse. He was on a Southwest flight from St. Louis to Houston.
We're pretty much in the middle of the zone of totality.
So looking down, it's a dark, almost could be a dark haze. Can't see the ground. People now crowding over to the left side. Wow, it is dark out the window.
And we are here now with a couple of the reporters who were out covering that eclipse from different places. Again, we want to hear from you, though, about what your total solar eclipse experience was like. Give us a call at 314-382-8255. That's 382-TALK. And in studio, we have producer Maya Norfleet. And we also have, joining us remotely, STLPR's interim digital editor, Brian Munoz. Brian, hello.
Hi, Elaine.
So in that pinwheel of audio, we heard about all the different people and where they were coming from. So tell us, who was there, Maya? Especially about one family.
Yeah, so I got to meet Alex Silva. He and his family in 2017 were still living in Mexico, so they missed that total solar eclipse back then. But now they live in St. Charles, and Alex didn't think that they'd be making the trip to St. Genevieve because the night before, his eldest son wasn't feeling well. But when that kid woke up feeling better, Alex and his wife loaded up their 2 kids and hit the road. And the last-minute decision came from hearing all the hype about totality.
I think when I heard that, I didn't know that the difference was so big between 99% and totality. When I heard that it was a big difference, we thought we needed to do it.
What was your reason to pick St. Genevieve?
Yeah, I looked in the map and this area looked pretty good. The park, playground for the kids to do something. And then the distance, it was the shortest drive.
I also met Punang Slate, who's originally from Thailand, but now lives in South St. Louis. She told me that Thailand hasn't had a total solar eclipse in a long time, so I looked that up, and the last total solar eclipses were in 1868 and 1875. Wow. Punang and her husband, Andrew, both came to St. Genevieve to visit Andrew's parents. And Punang was also abroad in 2017. She was in Thailand, but she made sure to be in town for this one.
Yes, actually, I was back in Thailand, and my husband Andrew was here, and we actually FaceTiming when it was happening, which is really cool. And I'm really excited to see the the snake shadows when the totality happens. Yeah.
So that was someone, Punang, who was she's now living in South St. Louis.
Right.
But we also have someone calling from St. Louis who has his own story to share. William, welcome to St. Louis on the Air.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good, good. Tell us what your experience was.
Well, it's not so much about me, but it was about my 90-year-old mother, who was a school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to teach science classes like this, but they used to use boxes and paper. They could not look at the sun. This was her first time having the glasses capable of looking at the sun. Oh my God. So we drove down. I drove her down to Carbondale, Illinois, so she could see the totality. And it just touched my heart. She'd never seen it before. And she used to teach the class.
Yeah. I mean, watching, I'm sure that you both were watching what was happening, but in talking with her about it, like on the way back home, what are some of the things that you said to one another?
She never recognized she only recognized the fact that even at 99%, the sunlight still came through. Mm-hmm. And it still illuminated the sun, but it wasn't until totality that she actually recognized, wow, this is really dark.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't do that when she was teaching classes.
Right.
She couldn't see. And the other thing that she noticed, a crescent sun.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
It just touched my heart to see that, here's someone who taught all these years. And finally, literally, science caught up so she could actually see what science had done.
Yeah. William, thank you so much for sharing that. Brian, you were in Carbondale. Where was it that folks were coming from to Carbondale to see this total solar eclipse?
Basically, you name it, and they were probably there. I met one couple in nearby Makanda, Illinois, which is self-described little hippie town. And there's an iconic shop there where the business owner painted a line where the 2017 eclipse passed right over his shop, so up and down the way there. But I met Arlene Mendez there with her family, and they had decided to drop their plans to stay in Texas and actually jumped on a plane, flew to St. Louis, drove down to the Carbondale area. So really, met people from Texas, North and South Carolina, all the way to Washington State and California, So basically, you name it, they were there.
Mm-hmm. So we also have Jonathan, who is calling from St. Louis. Jonathan, tell us about your experience and welcome to the show.
We had an alternate destination in mind, but we ended up in Farmington, my family and I. And remembering back to the 2017 eclipse, how unbelievably awesome the totality was, had to be sure to experience this one, because it would be the last until the kids are grown.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that with us. We also have Maggie on the line from perhaps a little later in the show. But what we would like to also find out about, Brian, is what people shared with you about what it meant to be experiencing totality yesterday, especially with so many other people.
Right. And that point is one that I think was echoed resoundingly, I suppose, by many people there. Just the fact that you were able to be in a space with 15,000 other people and all get to experience the same thing at the same time under one metaphorical roof, and how special that was. People talked about this being somewhat of a spiritual experience and really making them reflect on how total solar eclipses emphasize that we were just a smaller piece of a larger puzzle. So really, from the spiritual to the everyday, oh, this is cool kind of thing, people just were really excited to take it in with each other and make new friends and hear about the travel stories. And really, the camaraderie, I think, was center point during this event.
Mm-hmm. And we are now ready for a call from Maggie in St. Robert, who is speaking of groups of people with a group of teenagers whom she saw the eclipse with yesterday. Maggie, welcome to St. Louis on the Air.
Hi, this is Maggie. I'm here with Cyrus, and he wanted to tell you a little bit about it.
Sure. Cyrus, go ahead.
It was scary.
It was scary?
Yeah. I thought the sun was going to explode.
Oh, yes, that would have been a situation indeed. So was it what you had imagined it would be?
I don't know. It's been a while. Last time I saw it, I was 7.
Oh,
so.
Okay. Right. So that means 14 now, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Cyrus and Maggie calling from St. Robert. So Maya, as far as the people that you spoke with and what it meant to be in a place where they could see totality, what is it that you heard from one person who was in St. Genevieve from St. Louis?
Yeah, so I met a woman by the name of Vernetta Gabriel, and she was out collecting signatures for a ballot initiative at the St. Genevieve Community Center because it was a great place to talk to folks from all over the state. And besides her working, Vernetta was excited for totality because she felt the moment had an even deeper meaning.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like a symbol of new beginnings, a new start, just cleaning out the old in with the new, and staying focused and really just, making a change, a difference in your life.
Now, when totality itself happened, what is it that you heard from people, Maya?
Well, as the eclipse got closer to totality, everyone kind of experienced that the temperature dropped, especially after sitting in the sun all day. That temperature drop was very noticeable. The sky got dark. My glasses, I have transition lenses, and it took me a second to realize, oh, my glasses are clear. It's just this dark right now. And everyone started to realize that the big show was about to start. So I got in the middle of the crowd and looked up with everyone else.
I think that the solar eclipse right now is, with these glasses on, everything's black except the sun, and I think that's really cool for one. And it's like nothing I've seen before.
That was 11-year-old Cole Reddyman. He traveled from Minnesota with his mom and his younger brother just to see the total solar eclipse.
Mm-hmm. And so this was another child among the many.
So many kids. So St. Genevieve School District actually extended their spring break to include Monday because of the total solar eclipse. So when I say it was everybody and their mama, it really was everybody and their mama.
Mm-hmm. So then when the crowd then was waiting, tell me about what you were saying.
So what we're hearing now is kind of like that realization dawn upon everybody of like, kind of like what we heard the other person say, like they had their glasses on and then they couldn't see anything, so they take their glasses off and they're like, oh, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. You can hear some kids kind of experience a little bit of that fear and excitement.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like swell of excitement, right? And then after a while, it got kind of eerily quiet just amongst the people because we didn't know really what to do.
Right.
What we were seeing.
Was it emotional?
Oh, yeah. Very emotional. I got a little weepy.
Mm-hmm. And Brian
is going to go to you're going to hear me ask a question, I think.
Ask you how you feel about it? I'm crying a little bit. Just tell me what you feel. I love it. Describe to me what it looks like. Looks like something that won't happen in 20 years. What made you come out today? Yeah, my friends invited me. I wasn't able to find them, but I'm still having fun regardless.
Yeah, and that last person that you heard was Taylor Anderson, who drove in from St. Louis. And she just happened to be right next to me as I'm looking up, recording the sound, looking around, kind of like also lost in the moment. And when I made eye contact with her, I kind of talked to her. But afterwards, I did see her and she caught up with her friends eventually.
Yeah. Well, and Brian, I want to bring you into this because it was a Slack message that you shared with us after experiencing totality out there in Carbondale. I mean, what was it like for you?
It was really, really special, Elaine, and let me tell you why. I was a student at Southern Illinois University in 2017, right there on the same football field that I was at, and we fought every single cloud you could imagine right at totality. So there were a lot of collective screaming for the worst, booing, people cursing at what would be the sun. But this year, getting just the opportunity to experience it in person right there where I was cursed so many years ago and just coming full circle really made me emotional. And I definitely, like Maya, teared up because you talk about it. I mean, as reporters, we're reporting on this for the better part of the last year. Maya was actually one of the first folks to bring up the 24 solar eclipse back in 23. So it was just a spectacular event. And I really hope I can find my way to watch another one because, man, if you missed it, you really missed something special there.
Mm-hmm. And Kathleen is calling from the Central West End. Very quickly, Kathleen, tell us how you managed to catch it.
We just barely caught it. We were so stuck in traffic. I have never seen traffic like that before. We ended up giving up after 4 hours of trying to get down to southern Missouri to my niece's cabin. Mm-hmm. We just pulled over next to a gas station and sat there and watched what we could in Festus. That's like less than an hour's drive in a normal day, and it was over 4 hours.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that you managed to find a safe spot to look at it. Thanks so much for calling. Amaya, just as we finish up here, tell me about how it was different this time than in 2017.
In contrast to Brian, I was in a completely different city this time around. So I'm around people that I'm just meeting for the first time. And I thought about, why did it make me cry this time versus in 2017? And I realized just how much life and everything people have gone through in the last 7 years. Like before, we weren't living in a global pandemic. We had a lot of different situations and circumstances we were living in. So seeing this with a new group of people after making new friends all day, it just really, really made me emotional, and it felt really good, but it felt small in a good way. I don't know how to say that better, but yeah.
Maya Norfleet is a producer for St. Louis on the Air, and Brian Munoz is the interim digital editor for St. Louis Public Radio. Thank you both for joining us today.
Of course.
Thank you.
Today's episode was produced by our executive producer, Alex Hoyer.
Audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron Dorr.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
St. Louis on the Air proudly supports local artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, saluting Earth Day on April 22nd with an ongoing commitment to help offset carbon emissions with sustainable harvesting of Missouri forests. Details at choosewood.com.